Thank you so much. It's pretty rare that I come into a room and people actually stand up and clap. That's not what I'm used to. I feel like I should probably stop now while I'm ahead, because usually the reception is certainly not what I'm familiar with, is a warm and friendly crowd. As you might know, most of my days do not start this way, but I'm so excited to be back in Iowa, so excited to see so many friendly faces, and so excited to see so many familiar faces. I've spent quite a bit of time. Iowa's an incredibly special place for me and for my family. I ran my dad's campaign here 10 years ago when he won the Iowa caucus. It was an incredible night. Thank you. Hopefully a few of you actually voted for him then. There's probably not a Casey's General Store or a Pizza Ranch across Iowa that I haven't been to. In fact, I think I may be one of the only non-Iowans that hasn't run for president, that's been to all 99 counties and done the full Grassley. So. But one of the most important moments of my life that took place here, I met my husband, my amazing, wonderful husband, here in Iowa 10 years ago during the Iowa campaign. And like the governor, you can't do this without an incredible partner. I know you have a great one in Kevin. My husband, Brian, is the rock, the foundation that keeps everything going. We're so thankful that the governor has such a great partner to do this with, because there's no way she can do everything that she is doing for the great state of Iowa without you. And so thank you for being part of this and for taking on one of the toughest roles. Like I said, I spent a lot of time here in Iowa, and most of the time I spent here was campaigning for people to be president, hopefully trying to get a Republican president. We finally got one, and thank God we did, and he's working hard to make America great again. Most of you probably know me from my day job, and it's fairly important role, but the most important job that I have, and certainly the most important title that I'll ever have no matter what I do, is that of a mom. I have 3 incredible kids, Scarlett, who's 6, Huck, who will be 5 on Tuesday, and George, who is 3. And not only have they prepared me for the role as press secretary, one, I'm used to answering the same question over and over again. I'm also used to saying no a lot, so they've helped prep me for my day job. And one day I was debating, we had Bring Your Kid to Work Day, and I was trying to decide if I should take one of my kids. I knew I couldn't manage taking all 3 and still have a productive work day. And my daughter had gone to an event with me not long before, so I decided it was one of the boys' turns. So I said, I'm going to take Huck with me to my office. So Huck was about 4 years old. This was last year. And I debated, can he do the whole day? And I finally decided, when am I ever going to get this chance again? So I'm going to take him with me. So I take Huck with me, and so far everything's going great. And we had also invited not just the staff kids, but also the press to bring their kids to the office that day. So all the kids are going to gather in the Rose Garden to take a photo with the president. And I go in to brief the president. I'm standing in the Oval Office telling him about what's about to take place. You're going to go outside, and I'm reminding him that it's not just the White House staff kids, but it's also all of the press's kids, so a lot of the parents will be reporters. As we're explaining this, I start to see the bushes in the Rose Garden violently shaking. And we kind of all look, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. And within seconds, I see this little blonde head pop up, and I was like, oh, dear God, please no. And by the time I saw him pop up, the little face was pressed against the glass of the Oval Office, and the president goes, oh my gosh, there's a little boy looking into the window. I was like, yes, sir, that's my son. So every day doesn't always go as planned. If I thought that wasn't embarrassing enough, Huck decided he would up the ante, and a couple weeks later, I left my phone sitting out on the table, and he picked it up and managed somehow to pop out a tweet. Thankfully, being a 4-year-old boy, it could have been a lot of different things, but he went to the emojis, and it was trains and bridges, stoplights. And while I should have been really upset when all of these calls started coming in, I had people asking, Sarah, what are you trying to say? This had gone out on my official Twitter account, and I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about. So finally, I see the screenshot, a reporter sends, Sarah, what are you trying to do here? And I finally put 2 and 2 together and realized that my son had put this tweet out, and I should have been really upset, but instead I was actually quite proud because it was Infrastructure Week and he was on message. Like my kids, I grew up in politics and I spent a lot of time on the campaign trail. From the very young age in Clinton-era Arkansas, I learned that if good people don't get involved, then bad things happen. Thankfully, here in Iowa, you have an incredible slate of great people who are putting their names on the line, putting their lives on hold, and doing that to make sure that your state not only is represented well, but that it keeps moving forward, it keeps growing, keeps becoming #1. I'm a little jealous being from Arkansas. Iowa's my second favorite state because I feel like I've spent probably as much time here as anywhere else. But you've got an incredible group of people. Senator Chuck Grassley, I know we already clapped and cheered for him before, but if you did not see the leadership of this man over the last month, then you missed out on one of the great moments of America. He single-handedly stood in the face and said, absolutely not, we will not allow you to take over this process, we will not allow you to tear us down, and you will not allow us to stop. He did a great thing. Thank you, Senator. You also have Congressman David Young, who's an incredible representative for your state. I got the chance to be in Council Bluffs with him earlier this week, campaigning with the president. Incredible leader, and so thankful that you have somebody up there fighting for you, fighting for your values, and I hope that you will make sure you get out. If you're in his district, vote for him. If you're not in his district, still vote for him. That's a joke, by the way, for the press in the room. And call your friends in the district and make them go out and vote, because you need to make sure you have a good leader like David in Congress helping you. You also have, I'm a little jealous of the abundance of riches of the incredibly strong women that you have in Iowa. It seems a little unfair. You've got an incredible senator in Joni Ernst. I'm not sure how Iowa got so lucky. She's not just one of the strongest, smartest women in Iowa. She's one of the strongest, smartest women in the country. She is standing up every single day, fighting tough battles, and making Iowa proud every single day. And I can promise you that what you want is what she wants, and she's delivering on it, even when it's not popular in a place that is not always easy to go on a road alone, and she's done that. She helped deliver the E15 along with Senator Grassley, along with Congressman Young. She helped push and drive and fought until that got finished. She's fighting for Iowa, she's fighting for Iowa farmers, and I'm so proud to be here with you tonight as well. And obviously, the #1 reason that we're all here tonight is to support your incredible governor. Governor Reynolds' story is the Iowa story. She grew up with working class roots. She worked as a waitress, a grocery clerk, worked her way up through county government, the Iowa Senate, and lieutenant governor to the longest serving governor in Iowa history. Governor Kim Reynolds has fought to lower taxes, and under her leadership, Iowa's state budget is balanced with a $127 million surplus, the first budget surplus in years. And guys, I don't know if you know, I had a dad who was a governor, and balancing a budget is hard work. But getting a budget that actually produces a surplus is almost unheard of. If for no other reason, you have somebody who knows how to manage money, you should be voting for her like crazy and making sure everybody else does, because it matters to the kids and your grandkids that you have somebody that is fighting to protect that money. As somebody who's had to work hard, who didn't have everything handed to her, somebody who understands the value of a dollar, understands that the dollars that are put through our tax system aren't her dollars, they're your dollars, and she's gonna make sure that they're spent on the things that you want. She's gonna protect it, and if they don't have to spend it, they're not going to, because she wants to put as much money back in your pocket as humanly possible, and that means that you're gonna have that money to go on the vacation, you're gonna have money to pay for new shoes for your kids, you're gonna have money at Christmas time, and you're gonna have the life that you want because you have a governor that understands the value of that dollar, and you have that in Governor Kim Reynolds. Her opponent, on the other hand, is a liberal Democrat who would be a total disaster for your state. Trust me, I've seen what a liberal Democrat running a state looks like. Remember, I'm from Arkansas and I lived under the Clintons for a long time. Trust me, that's not what you want. You want Governor Kim Reynolds. Fred Hubbell wants to raise taxes on everyone, not just a certain class. He wants to raise taxes on everyone. He's for bigger government, more wasteful spending, and he wants government control of health care. I don't know about you, but there's nothing scarier than the government being in charge of your medical decisions. The government messes up a lot of things. The last thing I want them doing is telling me how and when and where and how I should get my medical care, and Governor Kim Reynolds will make sure to protect that, and Fred Hubbell certainly won't. Don't let Fred Hubbell and his liberal allies undo everything that the governor and the lieutenant governor have done to make Iowa the #1 state in the country. Get out, volunteer, make calls, go to door, give your time, and do everything that you can to elect Governor Reynolds and other Republican candidates up and down the ballot on November 6th. Elections have consequences. If nothing else, we've seen this on full display in the process that we witnessed over the last month when it came to the nomination and the confirmation of Judge Brett Kavanaugh. The way the Democrats acted was disgraceful, and it showed that we absolutely have to make sure we get out and vote and keep Republicans in the states and in Congress. Instead of a 6-3 liberal Supreme Court under Hillary Clinton, we now have a 5-4 conservative Supreme Court under President Trump. Elections have consequences. Thanks to President Trump's strong leadership, our economy is booming. We cut taxes for families and businesses. We created 4 million new jobs. The unemployment rate is the lowest in a half-century. And the president has negotiated better trade deals, empowering our farmers and small businesses to be competitive and prosper. We've unleashed American energy, and we're now the largest energy producer in the world. America is back, and we're booming. Our military is stronger than ever. We're crushing ISIS and terrorists all over the globe, and the president ripped up the disastrous Iran deal. He recognized Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital and relocated our embassy there. And I'm very proud to say Americans are coming home. Hostages are coming back. Just today, Pastor Andrew Brunson, after 2 years in prison in Turkey, is now safely back on U.S. soil and was at the White House earlier today. And this is only the beginning. A reminder, elections matter. They have severe consequences. What you do here in Iowa and what America does around the world matters. Whatever your party, whatever your gender or your race, good people have to step up and fight for our country so we can be everything that God has called us to be. Many, many years ago, a dad took his daughter to a place in Israel. It's called Yad Vashem. It's a history museum dedicated to remind us of the disaster of the Holocaust and what a severe tragedy that was. And the dad debated whether or not his 11-year-old daughter was old enough to go through Yad Vashem and whether or not she could understand what this meant, what happened when good people didn't stand up and do something. He debated whether or not he should take her in. The pictures were graphic. He knew it would be tough. He knew she would have questions that would be hard to answer. And he debated whether or not she could handle it. He decided that it mattered, that she needed to know that lesson. And he worried that if he didn't show her then, he might not have a chance for her to fully understand what would happen when good people don't stand up and do something. So as he took her into this museum, and they walked through and they went exhibit by exhibit by exhibit, she grabbed his hand, she didn't say much, and as they went further through the museum, the grip on her father's hand got tighter and tighter. And he debated, does she get it? He watched her face, she said nothing. She was expressionless as they went through. She didn't ask questions. And he wondered, does she understand why we're here? He wanted to know if she understood what was happening. And as they got to the end, and he was questioning whether or not he'd made the right decision and whether or not he should have taken her in there and whether or not it had been too much and it had been too overwhelming. There was a guest book at the end of the museum, and they stopped. She reached up in her father's pocket where she knew he kept a pen and took the pen out, and he watched as she scribbled out her name in 11-year-old scrawl. And then he looked over her shoulder to see if she would say something else. There was a section there to put comments. And she stopped, paused for a moment. The father looked and breathlessly waited to see if she got it. And she wrote down these words, "Why didn't somebody do something?" And in that moment, the father knew that she got it. She understood it. And the reason that I know this story so well is because that was my story. That was my dad who took me through that museum because he wanted me to know that good people have to stand up and do something, that we have to be the somebodies to do something. And you have an incredible somebody who is doing something, who is standing up, who's putting her name on the line, who's fighting for Iowa, who's fighting for the best life. I look out and I see a lot of kids around this room. Be thankful that you can trust their futures in her hands. Trust me on this. I'm a mom, and I can tell you now, I'd want a mom and a grandmother running my state before I'd want a liberal Democrat touching anything in any part of it. I'm so proud, so thankful, so honored to be back in Iowa. I'm so glad that I get to be here with the somebody who's doing something, and that all of you can be the somebodies who do something, because elections matter, and we need you to step up, be those somebodies, get out and vote on November 6th, vote for Governor Kim Reynolds, vote for the rest of the Republican ticket, and make sure that we keep Iowa moving forward, and make sure that we keep America great. Thank you so much for having me. Governor Reynolds.